Good morning, good evening, don't say good night yet. We just got started. RHMax channel here. We're bringing it to you. We're bringing the heat today. We got Gunther. He's only been doing like 18 hours live streams today, so he is super fresh. He's maybe caffeinated. I hope he went to the restroom at some point because we got some cool stuff to get to. I'm feeling pumped. I had some coffee. I had some exercise. I had a lot of brain work, some muscle work today. Feeling good. Did all my exercise. Doing good there. So let's get into it. Yeah, let's bring him in. Gunther, welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for inviting
me. Man. I was just telling everybody how fresh you are and how we're going to hit these questions and you're just going to nail it like it's the first time you ever heard them. Is that right?
Let's see what happens. Let's see how we do. It's been a long day. Right. I think I got up today at, I think I've been up since 5 something, and I've been pretty much going nonstop with just life stuff. So fun times.
Yeah, no worries. And thanks, Cabana. I appreciate it. I was like, okay, I haven't heard from you for a few minutes. Let me jump on the stream and see. Okay, at Cabana, can you please let my guy go? Please. We don't want to be too late. So I appreciate it. Just say hi to the chat real quick. Jim Rat's in here. Brand's in here. Wild SJ. Yeah, appreciate it, everyone. Everyone knows it's gonna be a good one. I mean, knock on wood. I think you've mesmerized the community lately with your passionate DogeCoin just efforts and just putting it out there that this token is it's something a little bit different than the others. So yeah, that's what I'm excited for to get into. But beforehand, again, if you could collect yourself and just be like, some people, they may know you, they may not know your backstory, but who is Gunther? Like where'd you come from? How'd you get into crypto? How'd you find Richard Heart? All that good stuff.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'll just give you a quick snapshot, I guess. I got into crypto in 2017. I started in crypto with $500 from a credit card. I had no idea what I was doing. Total pleb, broke, trying to make it in life, trying to survive. Tried a bunch of different things. But anyway, one of my brothers was starting to make a little bit of money in crypto. And so that got me started. I went into Digibyte as my first coin. Totally not the right asset, but I did go from $500 to $16,000 with Digibyte, and that was interesting. And then I wrote it all the way back down to like $5K maybe.
I remember when Digibyte hit like 3 cents or something. That was like the top of the bull in 2016 or something like that.
Yeah, I forget what it went to, but yeah, it was pretty close to. I think it was around like January because Bitcoin had crashed. I think in December of 2017, so maybe January 2018. So that was good. I went through my first like bear market, tried to learn trading, sucked at it. Spent some time just like messing around with technical analysis, market psychology, just staring at charts, and just kind of like more just like self-taught, like not like an expert or anything, but just total amateur trying to like figure things out.
Right.
I realized after some time that trading it's not a good solution if you want to make real money in crypto. It's better to actually just buy the right asset at the inception of that thing, not necessarily on day one. Don't get wrecked like I did with HEX on day one, but buy an asset at the inception, dollar cost average in, but you want to buy the right kind of asset that has perfect product market fit, one that has a strong like value proposition, a strong narrative, and one that like where you understand like the participants in that market. And so I was working full time as a wind turbine technician. I got wrecked on day one. I bought $8,000 of HEX on day one and watched it crash by 98%. I did not take advice, and so I paid a severe penalty. But I didn't give up. I just kept dollar cost averaging in for all of 2020. Every paycheck, 30 to 40%, working 60-hour weeks at a very dangerous wind farm in the state of Texas. And I just kept buying and buying, buy, stake, to create a staking ladder. And after a short amount of time, I was able to retire from HEX and just live frugally off of quarterly stakes.
Oh, that's a cool story too. Retiring from HEX, retiring from, any Richard Heart product is. Have you did a testimonial? There's a website for that. There's a few of those.
I know I should have done a testimonial. I know I didn't do it. Sorry, Richard. But I'm trying to make it up by a bunch of live streams. And I think it demonstrates that he helped change my life in a very real way. And I have a lot of respect for him. And all the other people that are hating on Richard right now, fuck you guys. That guy changed my life and made my life a lot better. And I think I'm a better person in the world as a result. And I'd like to produce a positive effect in the world where I could give information and knowledge to people for free and make their lives better.
Yes, that's kind of what, I mean, I said this before, Richard wants to make more people like him through Scivive's book, through his products, through like just getting these healthy habits, not trading, locking up, just living your life and not having to like, try to take money from that other person on the other side of the screen, that type of thing. So
Yeah.
that's cool that you sort of, went on that journey. So what year did you, so you bought HEX on day one, it sounds like.
Yeah, I bought HEX on day one. HEX launched in 2019. I retired December 31, 2020. I told 2 wind farms, all my coworkers, you guys, I told you guys, buy HEX, stake it. They're like, oh, it's going to go to 0. Well, they might have, most of them didn't listen. Some did and did really well. And it's okay, guys. The market will give you other opportunities like PulseX, even a silly meme token with a dog logo. You could make a lot of money because it turns out that people don't really care about utility in crypto. They actually only care about making money in markets. And if you can make money in a market that has centralized ownership and has scarce supply and has increasing demand, then who cares if it has a silly dog logo and it's just a copy paste type of ERC20. It does have very clean code though. The devs, you could tell the devs have a strong computer science background.
Yeah, and that's what I want to get into too. Can you just give us an overview just for people who super basic, like what is PulseDogeCoin? Why does it have a confusing name with other coins that may have been on BNB type of thing? And like, why are you like, what is drawing you to it? Where it is like your goal to make this the coin, like to like get the message out there. Like, why are you so bullish on it?
Those are actually really good questions. If you think about it, if you look at a lot of the meme coins, the socks. Well, I'll save that for DP. Is a more of an expert on PulseDoge socks. Maybe we can talk about it at some point. But basically, I lost my train of thought. Let me think for a second. Yeah. So with PulseDoge, or let's go back to meme tokens. How have meme tokens performed? How has Doge performed? How has Shiba performed, or some of the other tokens? A lot of people in crypto, they don't care about solving the Byzantine generals problem. They don't care about computer science or mathematics or double spending or any of that stuff. They only care about making money. And a lot of people love dogs. In fact, probably most people love dogs, right? And look at it. It has dog logo, buy button, right? And then everybody does the same thing and the price goes up. What's crazy, and I've mentioned this before, is that Doge inflates at 10,000 tokens per minute. That's not good. It's a hyper-inflated currency. You also have founders that are like flooding their own bags and dumping on everyone else's heads. So that also sucks. So Doge has a lot of problems. Also, like recently, Doge can now be spent. You could buy Chipotle with Doge. That's not smart. These guys are like super bullish on that, like as if that's great for price. You're basically saying Doge is now a currency. And if you speed up the velocity at which money travels, that's really bad for price. Because guess what? Every time you buy that burrito and everyone else does, millions of people, you're now placing infinite sell pressure on the asset. That means price goes down. That's not good. That's not good for price. In fact, if you wanted Doge to go, forget about Doge going on a bull run again. Even if you just want to paint Doge sideways, you need to inject a lot of money every year in order to make it just go sideways. We're talking like some large amount, like $450 million or whatever it is. You can do the math. I didn't do the math. 10,000 tokens per minute, whatever that calculates to be.
Okay.
So that sucks. That really sucks. It also sucks that even though like a lot of these assets have centralized ownership, but it sucks if the centralized ownership is dumping on you. They're mega dumping. So with PulseDoge solves a lot of these problems. It's super scarce. The supply is determined. So HEX, if you had HEX stakes, let's talk about the free claim, right? So if you had HEX stakes that were active as of April 20th, then you have 100 days to free claim PulseDoge. And it's all based on your staker league. So the highest tokens that you could claim per claimable address would be like for a dolphin, you can claim 900. The sharks get less; they get 600. Whales get 300. They try to do like a fair, like bell curve distribution type for the asset. And the reasoning behind this was that the devs didn't.
Yeah, why is that fair? That's what I'm curious about too. Like,
Yeah,
it sounds good, but like, why is it? You know, like, why do you put so much stock into it?
Yeah, that's a good question. I guess the devs wanted, or the founder of the devs, or whoever, if there is a dev or whatever. Well, obviously there is a dev, but the reason why they did that is they wanted to give the smaller guys a chance. Like everyone got like rewarded heavily in Hedron, large players, including myself. And then what did we do? We just got the asset. It went on a major bull run and we dumped the price down, and everyone else was like exit liquidity. That sucks for all those guys. It's so much smarter. And I'm not putting down Hedron. I love the HSIs and I love what Alex created. He gave it an honest effort. And hopefully it does well over time. But with PulseDoge, you can't murder the price unless you buy your way in, or unless you free claimed and never bought, but you held it for like a crazy amount of return. For example, if you're a dolphin and you free claim 900 tokens and the price went up to $1,000 per token, which the supply suggests that it could do that or much higher, even though we have no crystal ball, then you're looking at like you could extract $900,000 from a free claim. That's pretty amazing. That's like life-changing money for a lot of people. But in order to like murder the price, you really have to buy your way in. But here's the thing. When you buy something, you value it more than if you got it for free, because you injected your own capital, especially if you injected a significant amount of capital, let's say thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars.
So it's kind of like skin in the game versus hedge run is kind of rewarding, like trying to distribute the hedge run among the stakers based on the different, how much they have in the other product. But PulseDoge is like, I guess, what is the ethos too? Like if you could just distill it down, the ethos is create a small supply coin that is hard to dump because you must have skin in the game. Okay.
That's one aspect of it, but also, so for tokens like this to thrive and survive, you really need to have, there's several elements that you need to have for these things to be successful. One thing that's critical to any asset performing well is you have to have centralized ownership, and you have to have wallets that control the majority of the supply that are willing to delay gratification for the longest period of time. Think about like HEX OA, for example, thousands of addresses that just protect and defend the price, where tokens sit dormant and they're never sold. Not a single token has ever been sold from those addresses, over 3,000 addresses. Why is that? Protect and defend the price so that the price could go really high in the future over a long period of time. So centralized ownership is really key. It's critical to something performing well. You need benevolent whales that are willing to protect the asset so that smaller players can become wealthy first, so that they can extract value first. And then down the road, when the price is done, like a significant return on investment, then maybe some of those larger wallets could extract a very small percentage in the most responsible way via, let's say, one-sided liquidity Uniswap v3. So, for example, let's say the price goes up 100x or 1,000x. Well, maybe some whales might extract maybe 1% or less. Not a lot, but maybe 1% or less. But they'll never. My gut feeling is that a lot of these whales will never market sell a single PulseDoge. But the only way that people can see if that's really true is to give it time. You have to give it time, and that requires some sort of risk. Are you willing to take that risk on some of these whales and let them demonstrate that they are benevolent? Or you can put no money into it, hold your free claim, and just see how that works out. Or you're free to just dump the free claim and put your money into other things. You can cash out for chicken nuggets at McDonald's or whatever. People are free to use their money as they deem fit.
Well, do you think so? If there was a sacrifice phase for PulseDogeCoin, does like this kind of meme coin, does it need the free claim? like to take on this kind of traction, or
So
how do you think a workout of sacrifice would have been?
Yeah, so a sacrifice phase, I don't think anyone should be doing sacrifice phases except for Richard Hart. He's the only one that that's just my personal opinion. He's the only one that demonstrated that he could be trusted, that he demonstrated success, really, and that he was a trustworthy, benevolent like person and made a lot of people wealthy, including myself. So I think he earned the right to actually do sacrifices for Pulse and PulseX. Everyone else, they haven't proven themselves. I'm not saying that they're going to be rug pulls or that they'll be bad projects or products. I'm just saying it's harder to trust them because they have to prove themselves. Actually, it's very similar to PulseDoge whales. It might be very hard for people to trust that these whales will do the right thing, or at least will act in a very benevolent and like caring way where they care about the smaller players becoming wealthy and having life-changing gains. You mentioned about the free claim. Oh, yeah. So I'm a fan of freemiums, even though a lot of people aren't, even though it places sell pressure on the asset. I like freemiums because it onboards potential buyers. And some of those buyers could be large players, and large players move markets. If large players move markets, then the price goes up violently. Then FOMO kicks in. Then it's good for everyone. Everyone makes money. Markets need large players. They need whales. Small players don't do anything for the price. Small players are always along for the ride. And if they hold it out and do nothing, they really can make a lot of money in some of these markets. No one has a crystal ball, but this is just some basic market concepts.
Yeah, but wouldn't the distribution model where you're not, the free claim most of the free claim doesn't go to the whales, I guess, unless you split up wallets or have stakes across a ton of different things. How does that, how are we getting all the whales on board if they get the least amount with free claim?
Yeah, it's a good question, because the whales, I think some of the whales are attracted to PulseDoge because they see, no guys, let's not do the whole stuff, because I just don't think it'll be too productive, like he stated.
I only caught the end of it. I didn't know what it was about. I just caught the end of it, and I was like, oh, this finishes soon.
Yeah, we could, let's not get into that at this point in time. He stated his case. He defended himself. He gave us permission to release addresses should we choose to do so, which we may or may not do, right? Like, we have to decide, is that even something that's even profitable for the community? Does it make the community better or worse? If it makes the community worse, maybe we just drop it and just leave it alone, right? Because it's at the end of the day, everyone's free to do it with their wallets as they choose. Like, no one can dictate what anyone does if they don't own the private keys. But anyway, getting back to the real, the more important matter. What were we talking about?
The whales and how they get the least amount of free claim. Why does that incentivize there to be bigger whales?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So the whales, I think they see the value proposition in PulseDoge. They see an opportunity. They're like, if I miss the gains in Doge or Shiba or some of these other meme coins, well, PulseDoge might be the redemption, because meme tokens actually do very well in terms of price performance. They also see that no one can murder the price unless they buy their way in. So that's an incentive to them, because they can more control the market. They can control the price performance to some degree. We're not really talking about necessarily market manipulation, but it's just more like they can protect the asset better if they don't have tons and tons of sell pressure that's introduced later on down the road. That's one of the reasons why there's a 100-day claim phase. Let everyone claim and dump for chicken nuggets at McDonald's, or dump. It's actually a lot more, right? They can, if the price was
a lot of nuggets.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of chicken nuggets, right? The price was over $5 earlier today, and if you're a dolphin, that's $4,500. That's great. You could swap that for HEX and build a staking ladder, stake it for 10 years, or hold it liquid, or you could go into other assets. That's perfectly fine. We respect what anyone does with their wallets. It's their choice. It's their money. Hey, that, by the way, I mean, it also includes Steph, even if we don't like it, or even if he doesn't own those addresses, people are free to do with their money as they choose. But anyway, so whales, this is an opportunity, I think, for whales, because because it's a brand new asset, and they could basically gain a very strong position with, it might seem like a lot of money to most people, but for larger players that made money, like in HEX, for example, they could actually just some of those players could siphon off a very small percentage of their gains. Like we're talking way less than 1%. For example, a player like me, I mean, I earn 2 million tokens a month in interest in HEX. So is it a big deal if I maybe swap $1 million? I'm not suggesting that people should sell their HEX for Pulse Doge. I'm not suggesting that, guys. But I'm just saying if a player like me gives up 15 days of interest to build a position in something, that's not a big deal. It turns out most of my position was with USDC and not with HEX. I did swap some HEX in full transparency, but not that much relative to my position.
Well, I think there's probably a lot of people who are swapping the other way around. They're looking at their free claim and they've held onto it and they see HEX down and they're like, ooh, 5 cents. That's that PLSD can buy me a bunch of HEX right now too.
No, it's smart because think about it. HEX was 51 cents. It crashed to 3.6 cents. And like you're saying, even now it's like 5 cents. So that means it went down 90%. So you basically can get like 10 times, you have like 10 times the purchasing power, right? If you're buying at 5 cents and HEX eventually will return to the all-time high, 50 cents, that means you're multiplying your stack by 10x when it gets back up to the all-time high. That's awesome. You got free money. You got $4,000 or $3,000 or $1,000, whatever you got. And now you multiply it by 10x. You multiplied free money. That's badass. We fully encourage that, fully support that.
Is there any way? So, of course, a lot of this means, hey, you should free claim your PLSD because it's free money. You can see it's got a price now. If you got any HEX stakes, what makes you? So, why are people so afraid of this? Is it just literally this? They don't know how to read the code. Has there been rug pulls that have actually taken money out of people's wallets and to actually feed this narrative? Like, is it rational?
People have every right to be cautious and afraid, and you should be, especially with your wallets where your money, like if you connect to the wrong app, like you could maybe give permission for an infinite spend limit. Let's say you got HEX in your wallet or USDC or something else, and you give permission to an app that you don't understand. Now they can spend all of your money. That sucks. So you really want to understand the permissions. So when you connect to the Pulse Doge dApp, for example, it only you're giving permission, and it tells you plain and simple, you're giving permission to that app to view your addresses and to suggest transactions to approve. That's it. That's all that it can do. It can view your addresses, suggest transactions to approve. If your address exists in the set of claimable addresses, which anyone that's a dev could use the Merkle tree to work their way back and see what are those set of claimable addresses. If your address exists in that set, then you'll be rewarded Pulse Doge by clicking the claim button based on your staker leak. And you could do it for all the addresses that you had stakes active as of April 20th.
So I'm just thinking about the point of like, how do you know it's safe to claim? Is there like a website that shows examples of what scams have used? Like, I almost want to write a blog. I want to research this and write a blog about like, hey, if you see like this message, send all your coins to this address, approve or not, then don't click that. Like, I really think the community would benefit from having a list of these things. Like, if you ever see this, don't do this. Everything else may be okay, but if you ever see these things, like, definitely not okay.
Watch out for anything that you're giving permission for infinite spend limits. And by the way, if you did at some point give permission for infinite spend limits, you can revoke that on certain sites. I just can't think of the sites off the top of my head. Maybe people in the chat can mention them, but you could revoke those permissions. Actually, you could revoke the permissions on Etherscan. You could create a profile on Etherscan. You can connect your MetaMask wallet to Etherscan and revoke those permissions on that site. It shows you all the permissions that you've given. Let me give you one example of where there is like an infinite spend limit. So for example, if you want to like market sell 40 million HEX instead of murdering the price chart, you could take that HEX, you can create an HSI on hedron.pro. You could create the stake length for whatever length of time. You tokenize it as an NFT, and then you can list it on OpenSea. OpenSea keeps a 2.5% commission because they're a middleman, right? They're trying to make money. It sucks, but that's just the way it is. But when you interact with that platform, you are giving OpenSea an infinite spend limit to your USDC. So if you sell HSI for $500,000 USDC, they're going to tap into your money and take their 2.5% fee, and then you get whatever's left over. But it is a risk. There is vulnerability there because you've given that permission. So like I've done that recently. I sold some HSIs to another HEX shark. I didn't murder the price chart. I got USDC, and I ate the 2.5% fee. And then what I did when I was done, I revoked that permission on Etherscan so that situation didn't always exist.
So that would be an attack only if OpenSea got hacked, right?
Yeah, or someone from OpenSea executed something, right? So,
by the way, I have a security background, so like all these things, I'm thinking a little bit more deeply about when you say them. I'm like, actually, I could see that or not. So
yeah, I like it. That's good. Also, you might ask about the code. Is the code safe? For example, what if there's if you can't verify the Merkle tree, then technically, and I'm going to be speak in general terms. I'm not a dev. This is mostly outside the scope of my knowledge, so I'll just speak on what I know and what I've learned recently. If you can't verify the Merkle tree, that's kind of an issue, because what if there's some hidden addresses that you can't see that you don't know exist, and they could mint an infinite number of PulseDoge tokens? Well, that would suck, because you just claimed that it was a scarce supply, and now these wallets can just continuously mint tokens and dump it on people's heads, right? So that'd be a problem. You don't want like an inflation bug. You don't want where people could just mint tokens out of these addresses. Thanks for the nice comment. Thank you. So anyway, 4 independent devs looked into this. They were unbiased devs. And
I was one of them as well, by the way. I briefly looked at it. I mean, I don't write Solidity code, but I know how to code. I know how to look for certain things. I'm like, I looked at it in April. Seems fine.
Nice. Did you see any issues that or any red flags that you?
I mean, it's extremely simple. I mean, it's like 100 lines of code or something. if it was doing something malicious, it's either hidden super deep, or there's just literally nothing there. It's a skeleton with a few configurations filled out pretty much, and a couple of simple functions.
It turns out that the founder and potentially one other private person have a background in computer science, and the code is it's simple, but it's very elegant. It's very simple. It's nothing complex, right? But it's well written. It's clean. I've only taken a C++ course, right? I'm not a dev or anything. I can't read code, but other devs looked at it and they broke it down and they signed off on it. And these are trusted people in the HEX community. So I think that's good for other people that are not technical or non-devs like myself. It's good because it helps build confidence in it, because you don't really want to inject a lot of money into something if you can't trust the code. That would suck. What if you injected hundreds of thousands of dollars, or even small amount for smaller players? What if they injected $10,000 or $5,000 or $1,000? So that could be a lot of money for some people. So you want to be able to trust these things. And the only way that happens is if people do the research, and we are somewhat dependent on the research that they do, but we can at least verify once they dumb it down for us.
Right. And I want to ask too, so did you become a millionaire through HEX?
Yes, sir. Yeah. Paper multimillionaire. Most of the money is not available until 2030 and 2036. Live frugally off of quarterly stakes. I grew up so a lot of people don't know this about me, but I grew up in a poor background, right? I'm one of 15 kids, same mother, same father, all individual births, no twins. Hi, mom and dad, if you're listening, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, parents. That's a lot of work.
But they brought a lot of kids into this world, and we never grew up with a lot of money. I've recently had some tweets on Twitter. I've had a crazy background. I grew up what I would classify as a cult. I grew up in a cult for 27 years. I was brainwashed as a child. I don't hold any hard feelings toward my parents. My parents did the best job that they could do, and I think they did a pretty good job. It was just religious ideologies that were extreme. But I came out of that, and I was really lost in this world. Not really because when you grow up and you find out later that everything that you were taught was a lie, it's very hard at an older age. It's very hard to kind of like, you feel like you're starting from scratch. Like I'm 41, I feel like I'm 14. Right? So
that's a good feeling.
Yeah, I'm still young. But yeah, so it's hard to like navigate through life, and so you try a bunch of things. Like I worked at BMW dealership, worked at J.C. Penney's, I've delivered pizza. I've worked at Solar City. I've worked as a security guard. I was a sergeant in the United States Army as a helicopter mechanic and a turbine jet engine mechanic. I was a wind turbine technician. I started my own precious metal business. I've done a lot of things in life. Went to Ohio State for an applied math degree that I never finished. I just did a lot of stuff in life. I was experimenting and trying it out and trying to find my way and navigate like a harsh world from my perspective. Along the way, so there were some just many difficult journeys along the way. I was homeless for a short period of time. Lived out of my car for 3 months.
What was your car? A Tesla? That's different.
Yeah. Now I have no. It was a 2005 Honda Civic in the winter in New York.
Oh wow.
It was rough. Yeah.
Not a Tesla. Gotcha.
Operated a precious metal business out of Starbucks. Showered at the YMCA. Slept in my car outside of hotels. Just did my best to just try to survive. And then I realized after some time, I was like, this is stupid. I can't just go somewhere else and try to like rebuild and like find out how to solve the money problems. Because so for me, I took a risk. I walked away from a $70,000 a year job as a helicopter mechanic in the United States Army. I took a risk on myself and walked away from that because I didn't want to work for the rest of my life. I didn't want to be a slave to a system that I did not agree with. Bear in mind, I have much respect for anyone that works their ass off, for any blue collar worker, for anyone that's working, honestly, that's working at McDonald's or Wendy's, even though we joke about that stuff in crypto. I have respect for anyone, no matter what you do. I don't care if you're like the lowest person on the totem pole and have no education, whatever. I just respect hard workers. Everyone's just trying to survive in life. But I've been through my fair share of just hardships. I lost and this is a little bit vulnerable, so I'm careful here, but I lost a brother to suicide when he was 26 years old. And that was hard to get through. Pain like that never goes away. So I've had my fair share of hardships in life.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, I know I didn't mean to make it all like sad and depressing, but
it's your story. We're here.
It's my story. It's my life. And I feel like I want people to know the honest truth, the genuine side. Like I don't pretend to be something that I'm not. I'm not some great person because I'm a self-made retired multimillionaire from HEX. I'm very proud of that accomplishment. And I'm so grateful to people like Richard Heart and other friends that I've made in the HEX community that allowed that to happen. But at the end of the day, what are we really in the grand scheme of things, in an infinite, ever expanding universe? How important is anyone really? Do you think we're important because we drive a Tesla, or because we're multimillionaires, or because we're billionaires or trillionaires? It's actually really meaningless. I think we're important if we just produce a positive effect on the world, whether we're broke as fuck or whether we're rich as fuck or somewhere in between. I think we just need to make the world a better place. And obviously none of us are perfect. We make mistakes in life. People have seen my mistakes in the HEX community or Hedron community or whatever. Like we anyway, no one is perfect, I guess, but we should strive, I think, to produce, or I think we should strive to evolve to present the best version of ourselves. And if we receive constructive criticism and critique from others, we should try to analyze that and think upon it and see if we can be better people and try to make the world actually better and not just talk about it. Like, forget about, like, all day long we could talk about solving real world global problems, but it's actually meaningless until we actually go and really affect people's lives in a positive way. So I try to do that in my position now, whether it's dropping my laundry off at the laundromat and letting them clean it so that they could make extra money and leaving them like $100 cash tip or something, or giving like an ex-wife $25,000 to put towards a house, or helping out like a single mom that just got in a car crash and needs money for a car so she can get her family around, giving her $25,000. And we're not talking about loans. We're just talking about free. I like giving for free because so many people gave to me for free. They were so generous. And I think if we can make a lot of people wealthy in crypto that come from a poor background, I think those people are better for the world because they came from nothing and had nothing and appreciate everything that they have. And they actually become altruistic and generous people that really solve real world problems and just make this earth a better place, better human beings overall.
Gratitude is so underrated. And yeah, especially you can lose it over time if you become, wealthy and you start, getting the opposite of down to earth and you just start doing your own thing for a while. You can forget how, where you came from and all these things. So being grateful for what you have and creating millionaires who come from nothing. Not only is it a great story, I think it is better for the world that poor, there's poor people who are always going to be poor because they have the poor mindset, and there's poor people who come from nothing, but they learn, they're hungry for that. They have that energy. They want to be something better, and if they get it, I think that's a net positive for the world. Absolutely.
Yeah, hell yeah, strong points. Yeah, and I agree with you. Like, not everyone's going to become wealthy, and not everyone needs to become wealthy. We still need everyone to perform their roles and their parts in society. For me personally, I just want to be a leader that could actually bring about real change. And it's easy to talk about that. It's meaningless. These are just meaningless words until there's real action, real freaking action. But in order to really change the world and solve some of these major problems, we actually need to get to a point where we're making billions and billions of dollars. It's crazy. People probably think I'm insane to think this way. But I actually think that Pulse Doge, even though it's a useless meme token with a dog logo and just basic code, it doesn't really matter to me. For me, it is almost like a vessel or a vehicle, which I think if it does take well and does get mass adoption and does get increasing demand with whales that actually protect the price, I think it could change a lot of people's lives. Like a lot of smaller players, it could give them life-changing money, which is good for the world. But it's also good that larger players have access to a lot of money, like billions and billions of dollars, even though they could never extract it from a market at a single point in time. They don't need to. But even if they extracted, 1% or less after the price is done, 1,000x or 10,000x or whatever, then that's putting money into the right hands and of the right people that will actually use that money to make this world just a better place. So people, it's crazy. You get so much hate. Everyone just looks at you and just misjudges you for, oh, you're just a shill. You're shilling some meme token. Like, what's your agenda? What's your vendetta? What's your angle? How are you trying to fuck us over? Because people get fucked over so much in this life and in crypto and in this world. So I get it. I understand that perspective. But at the same time, I would just pose the question, what if you're 100% wrong? What if this is a great opportunity like HEX was? So HEX is a better version of Bitcoin. Pulse Doge is a better version of Doge. What if you could make life-changing gains, make your life better, and make the lives of those around you better? What if? That's just a question.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think you paying it forward in so many different directions. I think that shows, that brings out a lot of your character. And there may be, it forces people who are going to be skeptical. They're going to, like you said, they've been scammed so many times. They are immediately like, prove it to me, that kind of thing. And no, I think, hey, you got to pick something to support. And I don't know if I could ever once I get into Richard Heart products, I don't even look outside of it. Like, why?
Yeah.
There's nothing better. Like, what? Where's the better founder? Show me. Cardano guy. Sorry, he's number two at best.
No one's in the same league as Richard. No one. Richard is just an expert at so many different topics. And it maybe it sounds like a biased position for me to say that because I did really well from HEX. But I'm trying to be like I'm trying to step outside for a moment of myself and just look at him for the type of person that he is and the knowledge that he's given. I just think I just agree with you. He's literally the best human being in crypto. He's done so much for the space. And I think he really will change the world with HEX, with Pulse, with PulseX and all these things. I would have never even gotten into Pulse Doge, by the way, if it wasn't airdropped to Hexicans for free, because I've always been against meme tokens. I just was given it for free. So. I claimed it. I looked into it. I liked what I saw, and then I hit the buy button. That's why I like freemiums, right? That's just thanks for the nice comment. Thank you. I'll be right back. Apparently, I have a weak bladder. I'll be right
Oh,
back.
no worries. No worries. No, take your time. All right, chat. Time to talk a little bit. I'm gonna ask him. I'm gonna ask him about the HEX because that's interesting that he mentioned a few minutes ago about he made millions in HEX and he kind of lives off the staking interest with ladders apparently. So I want to dig some more into that. It's very interesting. You all have any questions? I know you're killing it with a PP, and that was a pretty good jokes in there actually. Pretty good jokes. Hey, Crypto Kindness. Hey, I want to give a shout out, Crypto Kindness. He got me. I mean, it totally mistyped my name on that. That's okay. He showed me how to be a streamer just a couple months ago, and I really owe a lot to him, to spending time with me, and just being awesome, being just a good person, and we still talk about books and share things like that. I got to have him on the show again too at some point, but I really want to give a shout out to Crypto Kindness. He was the first person I had on the show, and then he spent time with me getting me into streaming and figuring out how to do this stuff. Gave me a lot of good ideas and advice. So a big shout out to him. Really appreciate it, man. What's up, chat? I think we got the most ever here. 60 is pretty good. Hopefully not too many Pulse Doge haters. I do. Yeah, Tom's turn to get it. I need to get a mod. I'm not even sure how to do that in StreamYard. But yeah, hopefully it doesn't get too rowdy. I did have to put somebody in timeout. I know you can do that. I did that to somebody who was shouting stuff earlier. But yeah, y'all have been pretty civil so far. Knock on wood. I appreciate it. Hey, Matty Allen, what's up, man? Hey, check out my DM sometime, Matty Allen, on Twitter. We need to chat more and catch up. So hey, awesome, cool. I was just yeah, welcome back. I was just saying that earlier. I kind of wanted to dig into just a little bit too of, you mentioned or you made your millions through HEX, and it sounded like you're living off the interest then because you got so many stakes so laddered out. Like, can you just walk us through like your strategy and how you're doing that?
Yeah, sure. So I'm living off of quarterly stakes. So for right now, in full transparency, interest and principal, but the quarterly stakes, it's about 250,000 HEX plus interest. So roughly, with big payday interest and with accrued interest, somewhere around 450,000 HEX. But it's only every 3 months. I'm 100% staked with average stake length at 11 years. The majority of the money is staked for year 10 for 2030, and then also a lot of money staked for 2036. So when I first got into HEX, I was creating 10-year stakes on day one. I was actually, at first, on day one, I didn't know what I was doing. So I did like year 1, year 2, year 3, year 5, year 10. And then I think I might've even done like a max stake length. But then as time went along, I wanted to maximize T-shares. So I did all, like, every time I bought, because I was buying with like every paycheck, every 2 weeks, I was buying with every bonus, with every stimulus check. I would buy and just stake for 10 years because I wanted that 3x T-shares, right? Mm-hmm. You're basically paying a third of a cost for the T-share.
Yeah.
And I wanted to like basically pay my future self and set myself up down the road, because you need to hold an asset in crypto that's good. You need to hold for at least 10 years or more. But as the time went along, I realized that 5555s were insanely intelligent because you maximize USD price appreciation, because that's the longest possible time that you could stake HEX for, 15.2 years. Nice. So you're maximizing USD price appreciation for the asset. But here's what a lot of people fail to think about. You're getting interest for 5,555 consecutive days. But the interest that you're getting is not in a stable coin. It's not USDC. You're getting the asset itself. So for example, if you're earning today, let's say you earn $100 in interest for all your cumulative stakes today. Like every day you earn $100 in interest. $100 today at HEX's current price. But if HEX goes up 10x, that's no longer $100 for a 15.2-year stake. It's $1,000, and you never spent it because you can't spend the money because it's locked up in a stake. And if it goes another 10x, that's $10,000 per day. and another 10x, that's $100,000 per day. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the point is that this is crazy. The interest itself is capturing all the USD price appreciation for the longest possible period of time. That is fucking amazing. So that's why I started doing all these like 5 day stakes. And I learned a lot of stuff from Kareem, from like just other players in the network that were just really pushing this. Motley Investor, or some of these other guys that are just really strong hexagons. Now, after creating those stakes, I realized, like, man, I really want to retire. I don't want to be working as a wind turbine technician, putting my life on the line every day at 300 feet, working in like towers that are like 13 years old, with just really fucked up, dangerous conditions where you could die from hydraulic energy or mechanical energy or electrical energy. Like you could die from fucking dropped objects that just fall. Like if you drop a wrench 300 feet and you're down below, guess what? That could probably crack your hard hat and kill you. So I just, I didn't want to do that. Like that was for me just a means to an end, right? The only reason for doing that was to create extra revenue that was beyond like the revenue I needed to pay for my monthly bills and just survive. And I was able to play with that money and invest that into HEX. Like, I don't think people should ever invest money that's dedicated for rent or food or clothing or for their families. I think that's pure gambling. And you might as well go to the casino, throw down black 19 or red 19 or red 7 or whatever on the roulette table, because it's the same fucking thing. Like, it's very dangerous to do that. So anyway, what I decided to do, I actually took a week off of work. I was like, guys, I need a break. I got a lot that I'm trying to work through. I'm not working safe. I just need a break for a few days. So I was living in a house in Texas at the time. It's like 3-bedroom house, 2.5 baths, paying $1,500 a month for a nice like place. Like, cause Texas is like cheap, right? So the cost of living is really low. But I was just like pacing the house for multiple days, thinking, okay, what kind of strategy can I develop so that I could actually retire from HEX, survive, even if HEX crashes hard, and have freedom of my time so that I can just literally just live life and enjoy it and then just help people for free. By the way, I'm more busy being retired than when I was working. I sleep a lot of nights. I sleep 4 hours a night because so many.
Are you really retired? Because I think there's a good quote from Naval Ravikant, another person I followed. He says, retirement is when you stop sacrificing today for an imaginary tomorrow. Doesn't sound like you stopped sacrificing, Gunther.
No, I think I've actually increased like the workload. There's just so many people that need help and want help, and they see the success story. And so that's kind of one of the reasons why I've recently come out and I'm more public on Twitter, because I think I can influence people in a positive way. And I think Black 19, Red 7, hey, but maybe throw down $100 at the roulette table. Don't go crazy though. So I decided in developing that strategy, I took whatever liquid HEX I had at the time, because not everything was like fully staked, and I divided it up so that I could have an equal amount of HEX per quarter for 10 consecutive years, so that I could survive off of those quarterly stakes. And it turns out I chose 250,000 principal HEX to stake for the quarterly amounts, or for every quarter for 10 years. Because my rationale to that was, well, if HEX could get to 10 cents and stay above it, that's not a bad life. That's when you start to consider interest and all that, you're talking about 450,000 tokens per quarter. So at 10 cents, that's $45,000 for 3 months of living. That's $15,000 a month. That's not a bad life, even if you live in an expensive like zone or region of the world. But then think about, what if HEX gets to $1 and stabilizes at $1? That's $450,000 for every quarter. I mean, if you can't live off that, I mean, come on. At that point,
I don't know, man. Silicon Valley, San Francisco. I don't know. That's I don't know if you can do that anymore.
Yeah, or unless you have like maybe some like mega million property, and you really need a lot of money in order to sustain.
Because landscapers aren't cheap for mega million properties, I've heard.
And you got to pay everyone to like clean the house and cook and all that stuff, So anyway, that was my thinking, and then to help me transition, and this might be helpful to other people that are thinking that maybe want to do something like this. I also created monthly stakes for 12 months I think I had like 6 million hex, and I divided it up into 12 equal parts just for 12 months to help me transition from full-time blue-collar employee to retirement, just in case the price of hex got wrecked and got fucked up. Turns out it crashed. It crashed on big payday and went down like 90% almost. It was like 2 cents.
Remember that?
Yeah, I mean, it was painful because like I had already entered into retirement, and then the price crashed like 90%. But I was living in Texas, and I had a plan, like a fail-safe basically. So I sort of just like lived in a full transparency and full disclosure. I sold that hex for those 12 months to live off of that, so that I could gain freedom of my time. Well, the price ended up performing pretty well, went to 51 cents, and was severe bear market right now, severe crash, but.
Yeah, I mean, I love hex, but we all know time is the most valuable asset, and that's what when I see people bashing people for selling or not staking for long or all these different things, it's like everyone. You probably don't know the person's life situation. They may need that money. They may need to take care of themselves, and they just can't wait, or they lost their job and now they need to cash in. Like, you don't know people's situations. I would just say, be kind, be thoughtful, be mindful. Don't assume that everyone's selling on that you see via hex is just destroying the price. They're just these horrible people. Maybe they got bills to pay. Try to API, assume positive intent. I know that's hard to do, especially in crypto, but I think that's something I try to live by as well.
Even if it's negative intent, positive intent, negative intent, whatever the reason, at the end of the day, does it even really matter? Does it even really matter? Like, even whoever it was that pulled the 140 million hex and then just mega dumped it instantly. Honestly, does that really matter? Sure, it maybe hurts like our paper gains in the meantime, or if we had some liquid hex that we wanted to like maybe sell for whatever reason. So maybe it hurts us temporarily, but honestly, in the end, the person that did that is probably just hurting themselves mostly. So I don't think I don't think these people should live rent free in our minds. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't really matter. Sure, we might call out people if we think that they're behaving in a way that we don't agree with or we think is immoral. But even then, maybe we're wrong sometimes. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I made some false assumptions and came to the wrong conclusions about certain addresses. Maybe I misconnected them and just wrong about something.
Yeah. Yeah. I just want to say that you reminded me of something I want to ask you too about. You said, why? I'm curious too. Like, why are people concerned about the hex price in a bear market? I don't get it. It's like if you're staked and you aren't planning to sell in a bear market, then why do you care what the price is? And like, shouldn't you even be happy? Is it more rational to be happy that the price is going lower so you could pick up more or something? Like, why would you be sad? I don't understand.
I think people care because they don't have dry powder to buy the dip. That's one reason. So then they're like, they can't take action on that opportunity. They also, a lot of them care because they want exit liquidity. They want whales to come and inject millions and millions of dollars back into hex so that they could use that as exit liquidity and then have more money that they can pull from the market. It's just human.
So they want to sell. So all the people who are mad about the hex price are planning to sell, and that's why they're mad that it's down. Yeah,
or they bought, and the price is just lower than their entrance price.
Okay, so, or they're underwater, and just psychologically they don't like that. Okay.
No, yeah, I mean, think about it. If you bought the peak at 50 cents, and now the price is at 5 cents. Well, your money just went down 90%. I know what that feels like. I did that on day one with hex. It did not feel good. I mean, it's painful. So, I mean, I get the pain that people are going through. I can relate. It's just that with investments, especially of this nature, you have to have a long time preference. And if you don't, the market is going to just shake you out. It's going to cause you're going to be driven by fear, and you're going to make the worst emotional decisions. You're going to hit the emergency end stake button. You're going to be okay with like selling at a loss. You're going to be okay eating slippage. You're going to be okay driving the price down against yourself because you don't know what you're doing. You're going to be okay sucking middleman dick by doing MetaMask swaps where they're keeping a commission, where all along you could have just done LP positions and extracted value that way, or market sold small pieces so it didn't murder the price or whatever. Fear and uncertainty and doubt drives people to do things that are very irrational and very illogical and that are bad for their wallets. So you really have to try to detach yourself emotionally from these markets, close the price chart, go for a walk, go to the beach, go get some exercise, go eat some good food, try to like just calm down and think about what is your game plan with crypto? What is your strategy? What are you doing that's wrong? And how can you improve so that you could play a better game? Because this is like a game of chess. If you want to become Bobby Fischer and start, dominating the world like in his day with chess, then you've got to really understand the game, and you got to understand the participants and be able to understand how they're playing and how you can play a better game.
So it's like, don't hate the game. Reflect as yourself as the player and see what you could be doing better instead of blaming the market, for example.
Yeah, exactly. Don't focus on the other players. Just focus on your game. What is your strategy? What do you want to get out of life? What is your financial goals? And how can you get there in the most efficient way with the most efficient amount of capital without ruining relationships and destroying your mental health?
So I think the answer is get rich fast. I thought HEX token was going to do that. And I'm not trying to be cold. I'm not making fun of anyone for buying high and wanting to sell low, nothing like that. For me, I don't know. I've been following Richard since 2017. HEX, all projects day one, all that stuff. I just don't think in these short, I can count on a handful of times that I've been like emotionally shaken in any way about the price of any Richard Heart product or launch or anything like that. It's been a few times, and it's mostly maybe around times that it would be nice to have some liquidity or around this time or something like that. It's always been about that. So is it just you just think most people are in it for the short term gains, or they bought so high and they just feel bad and they just don't know what to do?
Unfortunately, that's the case. They're like, "Where's my Lambo? How come I didn't win Lambo, win Moon?" Right? It's all about that. Good evening. They might talk about delayed gratification. Let's see if I can outperform 15 minutes.
He's going to outperform, folks. My money's on Gunther.
We can't just talk about delayed gratification. We actually have to put it in motion. And the way that we put it in motion is we actually have skin in the game for 10 years and 15 years. Now, there's some other plays that you could do. You could maybe put a little bit of money into other things and see how that performs. And maybe that could give you some liquidity in the short term, especially if you're like struggling. Like if you have plans, let's say right now, the HEX price chart, come on, guys, let's face it, it's getting murdered, right? But it'll recover over time. It's going to take some time. Give it some time. But in the meantime,
I'm so emotionless. When I see the HEX chart, I'm just like, if it goes lower, this sounds like a good buying opportunity. Again, it's not because, fortunately, I'm not in a position where I need money and things like that. Knock on wood, everything is fine. So I'm staked, all that stuff.
Nice.
I'm emotionless when I look at the chart. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Well, if it goes much lower, I should buy some more. That's what I think.
No, it's good. It's really a really smart mindset. I have a feeling that you'll probably do really well in crypto because you need to have. I think for people to do really well, they always talk about, like you guys all just got lucky, and sure, many of us might have gotten lucky, but I think you have to have a certain set of characteristics built into you in order for you to generate a lot of wealth and to be able to protect and sustain that wealth over time. So you have to have certain qualities and characteristics that you need to develop. You need to learn how to save. You need to learn how to delay gratification. You need to learn discipline. You need to learn that maybe for us, buying Rolex is not the best play. Leave that for multi-billionaires, right? They can actually afford it, where they're selling maybe maybe selling like 0.0000000 of 1% of their position to buy some fancy things or whatever. You just have to have the right positive mindset. I see also a lot of people, they're so pessimistic and so their mindset is negative that what they actually manifest in this world is bad results because they think negatively. Therefore, they make poor decisions because they're more like negative and not like optimistic. Yeah. And then that just leads to like negative results. If you want to do well in life, and from my perspective and my experience, and I don't have all the answers, I'm just another pleb trying to make it in this world. I think you really have to have like a very positive, bullish mindset and have clear goals that you're trying to achieve. And then I think you'll start to make decisions that just eventually lead to you becoming successful in whatever you're trying to do, whatever that is. We're not just talking about money, but anything in life.
Well, I want to touch on luck too, because I think that's very important. That annoys me just about more than anything else. If you're in a conversation with someone, and if you're successful or whatever, you're talking about things, or you're talking about rich people. People love to hate rich people for some reason. That's this other thing. But they just always say, "Oh, they must have got lucky. They must have got lucky." You make your own luck. Like, you make your own luck. All these rich people, they didn't just get, some of them, of course, inherited wealth and all this stuff, but most of them, they work nobody, when you talked about you got to have a certain mindset in crypto, people who say, oh, they got lucky because they got rich in crypto, they don't see all the days of you debating whether to emergency and stake. They don't see all the days where you're stressed out looking at the chart, or you're like, I don't know if is this really going to work out? Richard knows what he's doing. Like, they don't see all those days that you have endured and you have diamonded your hands up. Your hands are shining so hard, and sometimes they fade a little bit. And they don't see that emotional, like all that work that goes into it, not just physical work, but mental work that you talked about. And that's when people say, oh, they got lucky. I'm like, God, I just want to, you don't get it, do you? It's not about luck. It's like 10% luck, 90% hard work. And the harder you work, the more luck you're going to have.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's solid points, man. The thing is, it's like, in order to even get the capital to invest into crypto, you had to do some type of work. Right? You were working, and then you had to take risk. And think about the people in the early days, the risk that they were taking, and by injecting a lot of money. Think about Godwell, for example, injecting millions of dollars into HEX when people thought it was a scam and didn't trust Richard, and were always afraid of large wallets dumping. And sorry, give me 1 second.
Sure, no worries. Guys, this is not a pee break, okay? Not a pee break. I heard a telephone, I think. So, or a pager. Kind of sound like a pager. Did you get paged? They want you back at the windmill place? Like, please, Gunther, please come back. We have the mechanics now.
If this bear market keeps going and the HEX keeps crashing, maybe old Gunther go back to work.
Yeah. Oh, that's something I wanted to touch on too about the HEX OA. So I know, in your profile you have OA audit, right?
Yeah.
Does that mean you did a bunch of research? Like, are you like, would you call yourself like an OA expert as far as knowing or trying to like, could you explain just like what the HEX OA is and like what you think their intentions are and like anything interesting about them?
Yeah, I'll keep it just in general terms because a lot of my research is private. I don't release it to the public just because I think that enemies of HEX could use it against us, and I don't want that. Or I think that plebs just can't handle information like that, and they'll just run with it and create any type of narrative they want. So I sort of just keep a lot of that just private. But I did. Oh yeah, thanks. Nice. Our pleasure.
Yeah, it's only your fifth live stream today. I think everyone should be thanking you. You spend a lot of time and energy into this stuff. So
no, it's no problem. I mean, I actually do want to help people, and I think people that know me in Telegram chats know that by now. I've spent thousands of hours trying to help people for free, giving them information that could change their life. I have not been a perfect player. I've also made mistakes, and so I know the guys that hate me and that are salty. I mean, I get it, guys. I get it. But maybe give me a chance to redeem myself. Maybe if I have made some mistakes.
Yeah. HEX OA 101. What do you think?
Yeah. So basically, the OA is actually one specific Ethereum address that ends in 7C03. When somebody emergency ends stakes, or if they stake or they end their stake late, then 50% of the penalties go to that address, and the other 50% gets redistributed to the staker class, and it's attached to each of their stakes that they own based on the HEX payout per T-share per day. But there are a lot of addresses that are connected to that address, and there's a lot of addresses. Let's just put it this way: HEX has centralized ownership, where addresses are owned by one entity or many entities. Nobody really knows, and nobody can really prove that. But I demonstrated at least that there the same behavior across multiple addresses that basically over 3,000 addresses that most likely it's probably owned by one entity or it could be many entities that are maybe working together. No one really knows. But those addresses have never sold a single HEX token to date, and I monitor them.
Have they staked, or what is the deal with that?
11 of those addresses are staking addresses, and the sum of their T shares makes them a Poseidon in the network. So there is actually a Poseidon in HEX. It's just spread across different addresses.
So for those who don't know, Poseidon is like the biggest.
Yeah, it's the largest. Is it larger than a whale? I think a Poseidon owns at least 10%, I think, of the share pool, I think, if I remember correctly. It's been a while since I looked at that. But it turns out that the HEX has centralized ownership, but most of the HEX that sits in these addresses sits dormant and sits liquid and is not staked so that users can get a high APY. So we know this because shortly before Big Payday, a lot of these addresses actually staked HEX for a few days, and the payout per T share was it was really, really low. I think it was 1 HEX per T share per day. It dropped insanely. And so it actually, it's better that these addresses keep HEX liquid so that we could get higher APY. Now, we're not always guaranteed that. It could be at some point in time in the future that those addresses might decide to stake so that the APY is less, so there's less inflation in HEX. I'm not sure if those addresses would ever do that, but it could do that.
So what do you think is the, for example, when they claim the head-drawn bonus and things like that, what do you think the OA's intentions are? Is it to, we know protect the HEX price, but what kind of different areas do they go into to do that? What do you think they will do?
I would just say in general terms, because I don't want to get into specifics. I'd rather keep this information private. Sure. But I would just say in general, those addresses don't harm HEX. The HEX just sits dormant. And some of those addresses actually increase with HEX. Think about the origin address. It just keeps increasing. Or think about all the HEX that was sacrificed to sacrifice addresses and then maybe sent to other addresses. The HEX just sits there. It's not sold or anything. So it seems like whoever owns those addresses or multiple entities really loves HEX and just wants to protect and defend the price and doesn't want to murder the price chart.
Right.
I don't know if that quite answers what you're looking for, or
we touched on it.
But I'd rather keep things in general, speak in general terms, because I just respect the privacy of whoever actually owns those addresses. I want them. I really don't, even though it's been released before to the public, I'd rather not really go into details, I guess. But I will say this: the majority of HEX that's in circulation is actually controlled by those addresses. So there's much less in circulation than what people think that are owned by users, is what I'm saying. About 3% of all HEX in circulation is owned by users, regular users.
Wow. And the sacrifice phases, how do you think those helped? Other than, eating up a bunch of the HEX and, putting in a place that won't be sold, supposedly all that stuff. Are there any other strategies you think the OA is using the sacrifice phases for, other than just collecting and holding?
I have no idea. I can't comment. I don't know.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool. We have a question from Bitfinesse here. Do we know how many addresses exist that hold HEX or have staked HEX and never sold a single coin?
That would be kind of cool to create. You mean I think he means just regular users, all the addresses maybe that is just never sold. I'm not sure. That would be really cool. I would have much respect for any address like that because, after having significant return on investment in HEX, there's much respect for anyone that's never sold a single token. I'm not on that list. It would be nice if I was, but I'm not.
Yeah, and the people who never sold, interesting. So if they're staked, it'd be interesting to see a list of people who are bleeding out too, right? Who are just you can actually lost their keys.
No, you could check that. You could check bleeding stakes. There are plenty of stakes there's bleeding out, and you don't actually want to run a function to end those stakes early. You just want to let them bleed to zero and then let the interest, let all the penalties go to HEX stakers. It's not in your best interest, because you might try to do what you think is some benevolent action, and you might be giving you might have some larger player come back later where you stopped the stake from bleeding out, and they go and mega dump on everyone because they had just like 200 billion X or some large amount just sitting there. It's been bleeding out. It would have went to zero, and then all the stakers would have got paid, but you went and helped them out with good accounting, and then now they just murder the price and extract value on everyone. I don't think that's smart at all.
Yeah. What do you think are some of the best game theory plays in Hex? And there's so many different angles, like some of this, what you just suggested too. What are some of the things that maybe people just don't talk about?
I mean, honestly, Hex is pretty straightforward. Buy it and stake it for a long period of time and build a staking ladder. The less you do, the better. You want to make real money in Hex? Stake long. And it doesn't mean you got to stake everything for 15.2 years. Not everyone is interested in waiting 15.2 years. Some are. So I know I have friends like U.S. Coast Guard, for example, in Hex Trading Chat or PulseDoge Chat or whatever. All 5 stakes. He's in it for the long game. He missed his opportunity. He or she missed their opportunity in Bitcoin, in it for a long game. So that's solid, but not everyone's like that. So I would just say, just be willing, whatever you stake. Hey, excellent. Chris never sold. Be willing to keep your word. If you said you were going to stake for 5 years or 10 years, just keep your word, because if not, it's just going to end up hurting you in the end with penalties.
Yeah, for sure. And I want to ask too, like, what are how do you pick? So do you just stay in the Richard Heart ecosystem, or how do you pick projects even within the ecosystem? I know you got into PLSD, but Liquid Loans, Mintra, all these other tokens and platforms and stuff. Are there ones that you see? A lot of them do sacrifice phases. You may have comments on that as well. But like, how do you see them fitting in? Do you think that it is like you think that Richard Heart ecosystem is the best price performant ecosystem because everyone's sort of aligned in that way, or do you see some other things shaking out within?
It's a good question. I don't want to put down any project or product. I don't know what people will do in the end. Some people just still need to prove and demonstrate their trustworthiness or their performance of something. I personally don't like, and I mentioned this, I personally don't like the ones that had sack phases, because they haven't demonstrated themselves with those sack phases. They might work out and people might do really well. So I'm not saying that they'll be failures. I'm just saying there's a higher risk with investing from a risk reward ratio perspective. There's a higher risk to put money in those assets. For example, if you had a sack phase and you got $50 million, you could do some really good things with that and people could make a lot of money and be okay, but you could also rug pull. I'm not saying that they will rug pull. I'm just saying there's a greater risk of something bad happening.
So what is the alternative for that? If they weren't doing sacrifice phase, what would be, would it just be airdrop? Like how would they build the platform without raising the money, I guess?
Give a finished product. So for example, PulseDoge was finished on day one and was given away for free to Hex stakers. Right? There was no sack phase. In fact, if anything, there wasn't money taken. There was only money given. Money was given away for free. Some of these other tokens or projects or products or whatever, I'd say projects because they're not completed. They took money in advance before producing something. The only one that I was willing, for me personally, and this is just a personal investment choice, this is not advice to anyone else, I was willing to take the risk to sacrifice money for Pulse and PulseX because I like what Richard creates. I like what he does in this space. I like him as a person. I trust him. He has good, solid advice, and everything I know, I've basically learned from him or from others that have learned from him as well. So I think he's earned the right. I'm just a little bit skeptical of the other things. I hope they deliver, and I give them my full support, 100% support, if they do actually deliver a real product. But I really do hope they deliver because a lot of money was given away for some of these things, and I don't want to see people hurt in the process.
Well, you could say, well, PulseDoge, it's a lot, it's a lot easier to say, oh, that one's finished because it is, so simple, elegant code, things like that, versus, Liquid Loans, for example, which is this whole, staking portal and loan system and all these different contracts that may work together, things like that. How would, I'm just brainstorming, is there another way to fund these types of projects other than getting something and no expectations, but hey, we're going to have something in the future.
Honestly, these people can fund the projects any way that they choose, and people that are willing to give their money for that, that's fine. They could do that. It's just, I don't really think it holds up in a court of law. I'm just thinking, like, if I was a judge and a case was brought before me where there was $50 million that was sacrificed for something. I'm just using an example. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. But if there was a lot of money that was sacrificed for something and they didn't actually deliver a product and just said, see, there's no expectation of profits from others, I have a feeling that a judge would be like, okay, so you gave them the impression, even though you said there was no expectations of profit, you knew that these investors really did have an expectation of return on investment, and you did not deliver a completed finished product. And now these players have nothing, and now you're off somewhere just enjoying their money. I'm pretty sure that the SEC or some judge or whatever, whoever gets involved, would slap the law down hard on particular individuals. So I think people just have to be careful on both sides, is what I'm suggesting.
That's an interesting incentive. Like, I mean, just let's just say that all these things get delivered, and everything goes fine and all that. We can only hope, but that's an interesting incentive just to make sure you don't rug pull and make sure you get the job done. So that's actually maybe a healthy type of thing.
Maybe they're more motivated to deliver, but they also, like, we do also run across people where they build trust, and then next thing you know, the rug pull happens, and it's from people that you don't expect to do that, and then they're off spending your money somewhere in Hong Kong or whatever, right? So let's just hope that doesn't happen. Let's just hope.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of, how many ICOs have been sued or their founders guilty and things like that? We're doing, versus the SAC phase, which literally has explicit language about that. I know it may, I know you've heard things about the family resemblance test. If you watch the Richard Heart, the 4-hour stream with the lawyers, they talk about family resemblance tests where, you said no expectations, but blah, blah, blah. Everyone is expecting things, and you just kind of hand wave it away. I don't even know if that's accurate or true or anything like that, but I'm curious, like, how many, I don't see a lot of founders being held accountable, even when it's a clear rug pull and they do an ICO. How much, risk would there be in a SAC phase for that? I guess it's new territory.
Yeah, it's hard to say. And if you think about it, a SAC phase is essentially an ICO that's presented in a way to try to, like, skirt the law, but I'm not sure that it would actually hold up in a court of law. I'm not an attorney, so you shouldn't listen to what I'm saying. I'm just suggesting that it may not be as, like, legal proof as some might think it is. But if you can deliver, then at the end of the day, who cares? Now, this person, Dylan, is talking about the owner and founder of PulseDoge gets a bunch of coins. Yeah, so so there's two addresses. There's the OA and the BA. The OA is the actual 7CO3 address. And then there's another address called the benevolent address. Those two can mint 10 tokens per address that claims only after the 100-day claim phase ends, and they can only do it one time. And then the supply is hard capped forever. It's locked. There's no inflation. Some of us expect that the final supply will be somewhere between 5 and 6 million tokens on the ETH network. Maybe more, maybe less, and then it'll get duplicated on PulseChain. But after that, they could never mint again. It's a one-time deal. And maybe Dylan, because I can sense that Dylan's super salty from other chats, sort of trolling me in whatever live streams I'm in today. This guy's been trolling me all day, just one negative comment after the next. So
I came into it, didn't know Dylan, but I mean, the question, I think you answered it pretty eloquently, right? So it's Dylan. Hopefully that's Dylan's showing some goodwill here. There you go.
Yeah, even in the worst case scenario, which I would never see, but in the worst case scenario where the OA dumps, which the chance of that happening is, like, basically slim to none, it just doesn't seem logical. Or if the BA dumped, the whales and PulseDoge have a stronger position than the OA and the BA combined. They control the majority of the supply. So even if that did happen, they have the economic resources to actually buy up the dump and can protect and defend the price. So it basically comes down to people have to make a decision for themselves. Do they want to take the risk of putting their money into this asset because whales could dump on them? But think about it. That risk exists in any asset. if you put your money in HEX, could large wallets dump on you? I'm pretty sure there's 97% of all HEX in circulation could dump on you. That risk exists.
Yeah, Bitcoin, Ethereum, every coin has whales, right?
Every single asset in the world, every financial market has whales. That risk exists everywhere.
That's Richard's point too. He always says, hey, centralization is good for price because you can get rid of a lot of whales and therefore there's less people to dump on you. Sorry, did I make the case for decentralization? Sorry. I guess that kind of applies to PulseDoge too, but I meant like, if you have benevolent whales, I guess that's what they're trying to say. If you have people who are going to do good things and not dump and have these good intentions, that's better for price. And he makes the analogy for all these different Amazon company and all this. How much does Elon Musk own? It's good for price, all that stuff.
Yeah, centralized ownership works really, really well. Richard has proven this point, and in many examples, Amazon, the De Beers Group, it works really, really well.
Good. A question on
HEX that got smashed through. I'll just say this: whoever created that buy wall, whoever owned those addresses, probably realized that sellers wanted to get out, and so the sellers ate through it. And so I'm guessing that whoever created that buy wall or buy walls or whatever, probably just letting sellers like dump the price on their own heads. They're literally moving the price against themselves and eating slippage and doing MetaMask swaps and emergency end staking and doing all kinds of like illogical, irrational behavior.
So many emergency end stakings lately. That's something that seems irrational. Like so many emergency end stakes that you're losing so much money, and it's not you're only a few months away or you're like the next day away. It is like, hey, you just staked for 10 years or whatever, and then you stopped after a year, you lost everything. I don't get it. Like, why did you just not click the button? You just paid ETH fees to get rid of your stake. I don't get it.
Literally burning up money. So a lot of people may not have done their research. Thank you so much for the nice comment. Really appreciate that. A lot of people may not have done their research, and so they're just end staking, even though there's that big warning on go.hex.com. Hey, it's a very advanced feature. You probably shouldn't do this unless you know what you're doing. But then, like, also people just moving based on fear and uncertainty and doubt. They don't trust anything, and they're trying to extract value, and they think Hex is dead. They think it's a rug pull. They think it's a failure. They don't believe it anymore. Anyway, so it's better just to let these guys get out of the system. Let them mega dump. Let them eat slippage. Let them MetaMask swap. Let them emergency end stake. The stakers are getting paid. We just sit back and do nothing. There's literally nothing to do. It's almost kind of boring. That's probably why I went into a meme token. I needed some excitement or something to occupy my time in a bear market.
That's why I asked you too. So what is the difference between meme tokens that fail and the ones that succeed in general? You talked about Doge, you talked about Shiba Inu, you talked about PLSD, of course. Like what is the difference? Is it the airdrops? Is it the creating the type of whales? Is it, why is Doge doing so well and Sheep doing so well and PLSD? Like, do they have anything in common or what? Other than dogs?
I mean, those tokens are not doing too well. If you pull up the price chart, they're getting wrecked.
Well, yeah, but if you go back, if you click log, go back far enough. Yeah.
No, they've had some. Yeah, exactly. If you look at, exactly. That's the point. If you look at the return on investment from the inception till now, even though it's crashing hard, they've actually done really, really well, which suggests that maybe in crypto, utility doesn't matter. And maybe in crypto, logo doesn't matter. Maybe none of that matters. Maybe the only thing that matters is that people buy it and hold it. And this is a key concept that I learned from Richard, and it works. Why do you think he created staking? It's a buy and it's a forced hold. If you keep your word, you're rewarded. Well, you're rewarded very well in Hex over time. But like for long stakes, not 7-day stakes and 30-day stakes. I mean, what is that?
Hey, there's a lot of whales staking for 7 days, 14 days.
Yeah, I know.
I've seen some of that. Like, what is the strategy in that? Like, what are they just trying to get some? I used to think it was because they were waiting on the fork and to get the Pulse coins, but what is the point now that they know it's probably not?
How does that
coming
even
in 2
make
weeks?
sense? Because you could create stakes now, even though you're spending a little bit in ETH gas fees, and get the duplicate copy of your stakes or your liquid hex. I mean, I don't really. The only thing that I would say is that the large rolling stakers, some of them are just want the money, like they want it liquid. It's essentially liquid if you're only staking for like 90 days or less. Like you get access to that in 3 months, basically, or less, right? Especially if it's like short stakes. I think the short stakers that are staking like 7 days, those are just mega dumpers in the waiting. Why stake for 7 days? If you're actually just want to keep rolling the interest, maybe you do more like a 90-day stake, so you can have access to money.
Why don't we see a bunch of 90-day stakes coming? If you think it's going to launch this summer, why not just control yourself? Do 80, 90, 100, 120 days or something. To tell everyone you're not going to dump, and you want the pulse coins.
Yeah, and also, I mean, you could launch like end of the year. Why not just stake it till like December 31st, for example?
Yeah,
right. So I think that some players want large rolling stakes. They want access to the liquidity. But what that suggests to me, if you want access to liquidity or you need access to liquidity, then you're a higher liability to actually sell the price down. Because if not, you would just stake for a longer period of time. Why wouldn't you stake for 1 year or 5 years or 10 years? The reason why you're keeping that short is because you need access to liquidity and you want to maximize at least getting some interest. You don't want to just keep it liquid in your wallet because you're like, hey, I got 100 million hex or whatever it is. Let me at least get interest and keep rolling that. But I'm telling you, when the price hits like $1, somebody has 100 million hex and the price is $1. I don't trust that person to hold $100 million. I'm just thinking, like, what if I was in their shoes? Like the temptation is too great to like sell that, right?
Yes, I think you're exactly right. They haven't decided what to do. If you're staking for 7, 14, 20 days or whatever, you're trying to make a decision, and price is probably going to influence that decision, right?
You're very indecisive, and we've talked about this before, like me, Kareem's, Wells Only, some other streamers. If you're holding liquid bags of hex, or you're like really short-term staker, like we're talking about like the 7-day guys or 14-day guys or whatever, you're going to get washed out due to volatility. Let's face it. You will get washed out due to the volatility in this market. You will not survive. The long-term hex staker class who has skin in the game will survive.
And that should be written on a stone somewhere. I think that's a perfect way to put it. And I think we ended it right there. I think that's a great way to end it too.
Nice, yeah. I'm getting worn out. My voice is on tilt mode.
I'm trying not to give you any extra health problems. I know you got to be tired. I hope you sleep well.
Nice.
Gunther, it was a pleasure, man. I hope this is not the last time we talk. I hope we get to talk more.
Hey, you're a great guy, man. You have great energy, great vibe, great personality. Super smart and intelligent. So I actually really enjoyed this stream. Like, thanks for having me on, and maybe we do this again in the future. Maybe bring on some other guests too at the same time. Have a nice little dialogue or whatever. But yeah, pretty awesome stream. Thanks for having me on.
For sure. Hey, I appreciate it, man. Chat, you all killed it tonight. We set some records in every single vertical, and the saltiness and the sweetness. I think appreciate it, everyone. Be nice to Gunther. No matter what you think of him. API, assume positive intent. He seems to have a lot of great stuff to talk about, and seems to be a great hexagon. I don't know. His actions so far have not told me otherwise. So PLSD, claim it if you want. If you don't want to, that's cool too. But you got 100 days. When's 100 days up, Gunther?
So 100 days from April 20th. I think it's somewhere around July 29th. I think there's like 55 days left. There's a counter on PulseDoge.com. Thanks.
PulseDoge.com. Yeah. All right. Thanks, everyone. I got a stream going on tomorrow. If you want to tune in, like, subscribe, smash that all button, do all the stuff, and we'll see you again soon. Thanks, Gunther.
Yeah. Thanks, buddy. See you later.